There was no sex in the USSR. Do you think this is a little bit unexpected and provocative topic for our Soviet Myths Debunked series? But interesting. Controversial? But interesting, and we are not in the Soviet Union anymore or Putin's Russia, so we are allowed to talk about everything we want. But of course, talk smart. The world-famous phrase, "there is no sex in the USSR," was born in 1986, during one of the tele bridges between Leningrad and Moscow. Such TV shows became extremely popular during Gorbachev glasnost, because any contacts between the USSR and the USA were encouraged. On such TV programs, viewers and participants from two countries were able to communicate directly. And in 1986, the telebridge was named Women Talking to Women. And during a TV show, an American participant asked a question. TV commercials in the United States use a lot of sex. Are there any TV commercials on Soviet television? And a Soviet participant, who also happened to be a member of the Committee of Soviet Women, answered, "There is no sex in the USSR, and actually we are strictly opposed to it."
Я хотела бы сказать, что у нас в телерекламе все крутится вокруг секса. Есть ли у вас такая телереклама?
Секса у нас нет, и мы категорически против этого.
Was it always like that? Was sex a forbidden topic in communist conversations, books and films? No, just the contrary. Young communists of the 20s popularized the so-called glass of water theory. It appeared at the end of the 19th century, but was closely associated with Alexandra Kollonotai, the first woman minister in the USSR and possibly the first woman minister in general. She was a known feminist and fought for the rights of women. According to the glass of water theory, in a true communist society, satisfaction of your sexual desires and love must be that simple as drinking a glass of water. Everything is allowed to everyone, open relationship and total freedom. Young communists loved living in communas and sharing their loved ones with their loved comrades. But it all ended very quickly in 1929 with the appearance of 12 sexual commandments. I hope I will be able to pronounce it correctly. 12 sexual commandments of the revolutionary proletariat were published in 1924 by a renowned Soviet psychologist Aron Zalkind. And these were rules how to behave for true communists in their sexual life. Of course, there were some healthy and normal advice, but also some totally unpredictable. For example, it was advised to develop your sexual relations only alone with your class. And courtship and flirting were forbidden because they reminded of trade and bourgeois. Also, the class, in the interests of revolutionary suitability, has the right to interfere in the sexual life of its members. Most importantly, the energy of the proletariat must be used on more important things, not satisfaction of their sexual desires, but accomplishing of their historic mission. And it all began, or better say, it all ended. For many decades, Soviet education and Soviet media remained silent in the topics about sex. It was totally absent from school education, and many children knew nothing about not only sexual relations, but even their own physiology. For example, even in the 60s, the course of human anatomy was advised for individual study. So topics like the structure of human body were absent from the class conversations. Examples of relations and birth were explained on the example of rabbits, or even better, flowers. The tragedy is that many boys and girls did not know what was going on with their bodies, and hundreds of girls believed they were dying during their first menstruation. Parents believed school will explain, school believed parents will explain, and as a result, children learned lots of things from the street. Not the best place to learn your body and learn its possibilities. And first articles on sexual education appeared in the end of 70s, and the majority of them were named Family Life or How to Protect the Youth from Sex. And in that article there were lots of absolutely absurd advice. For example, like girls will never like boys who wear long hair, or boys will never marry on the girls who smoke.
Секса у нас нет!
Almost all period of the USSR, it was extremely difficult to find any kinds of modern, for that time's, contraception. And some people even joked that the best contraception within the USSR was abortion, a tragedy for millions of Soviet women. Lack of knowledge, lack of access to high-quality erotic production like films and books was also a trouble. So adult men wearing shorts were treated as a pornography. Of course, some information, some magazines and films were smuggled from the rotting West, but people treated them more like an entertainment and not a way to learn more about your sexual life. Bad living conditions. When families live in one flat, and I mean grandparents live together with parents and their children, or even when two different families share one apartment, did not aid normal sexual relations in Soviet families. Absence of knowledge, closed society, depression, and feeling of guilt for any kind of satisfaction led to the fact that there was no sex in the USSR. Even now, on modern forums of Russian parents, you can find a lot of opposition to sexual education courses. They blame rotting West for all the sins: perversions, sexually transmitted diseases, and of course the epidemic of AIDS. And the reason is access to knowledge that Western youth has. Access to information is always treated as a huge problem in Russian society. That's why now, during war in Ukraine, they prefer to close their eyes and ears and to pretend they know nothing about crimes committed daily in my country. My name is Anna, and I believe that access to pleasure and information are very important in our life. That's why Soviet myths must be debunked.